future. I hope this part doesn't show up. And we are live. Boom. All right, everybody, we're here with Nick Bruce, my fellow Ohioan, Alienation teammate, and amazing BMX rider. So I put it in the title, but I didn't give too much context here, but I wanted to talk about the health conscious side of things. And the reason why I'm doing this with you is because I did a poll or a question thing on Instagram asking who the most health conscious BMX rider was, and it was you and JJ Palmer who came up. So it was like,
Oh, really?
well, that's easy two people to reach out to, and here we are. So I gave you my questions already, but I want to go over kind of why I wanted to do this too before we get super into it, because there's a lot of people who watch this channel who are like older riders who are getting back into it or who've been riding, who never quit, who've been riding for like 30 years or whatever. And I see sometimes there's people who comment or like, I would ride, but my back hurts. Like I can't ride because my back hurts, or whatever this, whatever that. And it's these health things that hold people back. And I feel like there's a lot of that a few simple things that people can do can like make it a lot better very easily. So I wanted to talk with you about it mostly because I see on Instagram how health conscious you are. People say you're one of the most health conscious riders in BMX. So figured it'd be a good time to talk about it. And speaking of posting on Instagram and stuff, I saw your post today. And I wanted to ask you about your day to day. Actually, first of all, do you feel like you're a health conscious person?
um, I do. I don't really like label myself like that, but I guess
Yeah.
you could say that just based on all the choices I make every day and every week, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe not necessarily labeling yourself that, but just like feel like in general you pay attention to health and healthfulness,
Right. Yeah,
which
I'm
is
very
very good.
aware and just I try anything and everything to live a healthy lifestyle. So I guess,
Yeah. So what's that look like on a day-to-day basis?
um, should I just talk to you about my day? Like what
I
a
mean, you could
typical
talk
day
to me,
looks like?
yeah?
So typical day. So I'm really into. I wouldn't even say I'm really into it, but I meditate every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Just just something to like clear my mind and like start the day each day fresh. And it really helps me like manage stress and feel a lot better just
Yeah.
mentally. And I feel like that's like the most important part, like health wise, is
Yeah.
like getting your mental game like pretty clear and focused. Um, that's helped me the most. I feel like, but I'll do that before I eat breakfast, and then right now I'm eating smoothies in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
just like a protein smoothie with a lot of blueberries, mangoes, and then like a plant-based protein added in.
Yeah.
Um,
Smoothies are great.
and then I'll drink my coffee, read a little bit, and then I'll go work out. Um, and then I'll eat. I feel like all my meals are timed in order to like either work out or ride or recover. Um,
Really? So with
yeah,
that, that
that's
means
something we could talk about because that's huge.
yeah, that's interesting to me. So do the meals change based on what they're for?
Yeah, they do actually.
That's really interesting. So what's the difference between recovering and working out and riding is as far as the meal goes?
So if I know it's a pre-ride meal, it's gonna have like a lot of carbs. Like I eat a lot of rice and sweet potatoes, so I'll load the plate up with that, and not a heavy protein. Like I won't eat like too much protein before I ride,
Mm-hmm.
but just so I have a lot of energy. And I find for me, carbohydrates helps me a lot. Um, and then after riding, I'll have my protein shake with like a recovery mix in it, like immediately, because this
Yeah.
is something. I learned a long time ago. Like your body absorbs the most nutrients like 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes immediately after any strenuous activity. And I notice that a lot. Like if I don't have my banana, or I'll eat a banana as well. I'll eat a banana and my protein shake like immediately after riding, and it like reduces the soreness the next day by like tenfold if versus the days I don't do that.
Really?
Even just a banana, yeah.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, that's the same as like after every workout, like I pretty much have the same like after workouts and riding, I pretty much have the same like recovery drink. Like it's just plant-based protein and this recovery mix. It just has like a bunch of vitamins in it, I guess.
So, what do you notice? Like, obviously, you try to do this all the time, but if you happened to miss it, what do you notice? Like, how do you feel?
Just sore the next day. Like I could feel like a little slower, or just like it's more of like the day after, and then for sure the next like the second day after, I'll really notice like wow, I didn't eat enough the last 2 days, or I didn't really eat enough. Like if I know I rode and worked out one day, I could pinpoint that my heavy day is what probably caused all this soreness. Um, so that's another thing. Like I try to map out my week to where if I have a heavy workout day, I'll try to like have a heavy workout and then a heavy riding day the same day, because that's
Hmm.
gonna like put the most impact on your body. And then I'll have like a light day on the next day, and it's kind of confusing, but like you kind of like basically as much as you're doing, you want to fuel your body for that much.
Yeah.
So if you're not fueling it properly, that's when you know you're gonna be more fatigued or feel the soreness after those heavier days, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense. So does that mean that if you're not riding the way you feel you should be riding, can you pinpoint that to like, oh, I didn't eat enough more than you can just, oh, this isn't a good riding day for me?
100%, yeah. It's more so just being underfueled, in my
Wow.
opinion.
That's
I mean,
really,
like
really interesting.
from my experience too, like I mean, I'll do some days where I'm like, all right, because at competitions, you know, it's every day, every time is different. You don't know if you're going to eat a whole lot the
Hmm.
day of. So I want to be like prepared for that if I ever compete without like low fuel. So I want to like I'll incorporate those days of riding on low fuel, and just to know I could push through it and like be ready for any type of situation at a contest. But 100%, like if you're not feeling it that day, you could definitely pinpoint it even to the previous day, like because your body's constantly needing fuel to recover and to do the current activity. So I'll eat like a meal before riding and immediately after riding, and then all that will just cancel itself out, and then you have to eat again to keep your body like processing everything you just did, and to keep doing what you're doing like for the rest of the day, even if you're just
Wow.
laying around or whatever.
So that kind of explains why I feel like I see you at Rays, and then like, I feel like I've never seen you at Rays past like 8 o'clock.
That's true.
It's
Well, I
interesting.
ride early. I ride early
Yeah, but it
in the
makes
day.
total sense. So you're saying you'll eat directly after you ride and then again the same day, like afterwards. So like if you ride until 6 p.m., you eat at 6 and then you'll eat again after that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Probably two more meals depending on the session.
Really?
I I eat a lot, but it really I feel like food is everything. Like just because you know those days where you just don't have energy, like you could always pinpoint it to your nutrition and like what you put in your body that day or the day before. Um, if you're eating a lot of like simple carbs, like white rice or fruits, or just like simple sugar stuff, like, or cereal, like you're just eating a bunch of cereal, you're going to burn all that off pretty quickly in the beginning of a session.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I had like sweet potatoes, or like I eat a lot of oatmeal as well. Like those are called complex carbs, so
Yeah.
they like give you a longer burning energy than the simple carbs. Um, I've always been like a huge food and nutrition nerd, just because I've always been interested in like what your body can do and react to and what you put into it.
Yeah, well,
Um,
it kind of feels like it's a really good way to just make sure you can ride as good as you possibly can all the time. I just thought like
yeah,
there was just bad days, but now that you're saying all of this, it's like, well, okay, so if I would think about what I ate the day before when I'm just feeling like blah at the skate park, or what I did the day before and how much I ate in comparison to that, it's like, okay, so there's reasoning behind this, and it's not just that I'm feeling blah that day.
right. Yeah, it's truly consistency, and the consistency comes from just eating well each day, and you're gonna feel better each day the better you eat.
So you're
Um,
saying my Hardee's on the way home from Ray's every session is probably a bad idea.
may I mean, it's better after the session than before the session, that's
Oh,
for
I
sure.
always make sure because I've heard we've talked about this before a little bit and like talked about eating after riding. I specifically remember you saying about taking in protein after you ride. So I was like, okay, I'll just won't eat on my way to Ray's. I'll eat on my way home from Ray's.
Yeah, but you still need like something for fuel before you ride.
Yeah.
Important. But you don't want it to be like a heavy protein. You want it to be like a lighter meal, but with a lot of carbohydrates to give you that energy.
Very, very interesting because I never like I just completely guess I'm sure a lot of people too just like go with whatever and don't necessarily put thought into that and I'm glad to learn that you can put thought into it and pretty much ensure that you're gonna feel good.
Right.
What about like vitamins and supplements and stuff? Do you take any of that?
I do. I take vitamin D. I take an omega-3 pill. It's kind of like a fish oil,
Mm-hmm.
but it's algae. I take algae pills because I'm actually vegan. But yeah, vitamin D, magnesium, and omega-3. Mainly because vitamin D, it's not summertime, but even when it's summertime, we don't get ample amount of sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
even when it is summertime, because we wear clothes.
Yeah.
Um, like I read somewhere, like you would have to be nude sitting in the sun for like an hour each day to actually get enough vitamin D in your to produce enough vitamin D in your body.
Oh, okay.
So it's better to that's something you should always supplement.
Yeah.
And then omega threes, I take omega threes because those are your like anti-inflammation fighters, basically.
I see.
Like they fight all the inflammation in your body, even from the food you eat. Like because a lot of the foods we eat they're high in omega sixes, and if you're too high in omega sixes, that actually causes inflammation in the body. So you want to balance it out with omega threes. So any like fish oil or algae pills, and if you eat fish or hemp seeds, that's a good way to incorporate it in your body. Um, and that'll actually reduce soreness as well. Like the more you take in omega threes,
Interesting. I've
because
always
it's fighting off all the inflammation.
yeah, every time somebody talks about like, oh, my lower back hurts, all this stuff, I'm just like, well, just quit eating sugar.
It's true. There's a lot of foods that put out a lot of inflammation in your body.
Right, and I've always just equated that as like one of the easiest solutions for that inflammation that makes your back hurt. Like, get taller bars, quit eating sugar, and start stretching.
Yes, those
And
those would be big.
so is I mean, I've always just been under the impression that sugar is a pretty bad, like inflammatory. Is that true, or am I just making stuff up?
It depends. Like I eat a lot of fruit, and they complain, or a lot of studies will say like, oh, fruit's high in sugars, but the fruit has so many anti-inflammatory properties to them that
Mm-hmm.
it outweighs all the sugars. Like it's not like you're not hurting your body by eating a lot of fruit.
What about
But
processed
if
sugar?
you're yeah, if you're eating processed sugar, like if you eat a box of cereal, you're gonna you're gonna feel like you just ate a box of cereal.
Or like cookies and chocolate and
And cookies, right? Cookies and chocolate. Just because that stuff just burns up so quick, and then it shoots your insulin levels up to the roof, and that's what causes like a response in your body to like fight fight or flight mode, and like causing the distress in your body. Um,
interesting. That's
so yeah,
so
not all sugar is created equally. There's a lot of people that claim it is, but like if something like if you eat a banana, you're gonna feel a lot better than what if you were to eat a cookie.
exactly.
And
I when I say sugar, I mean like sweets and things like that, not the sugar in fruit. Natural sugar
right.
and added sugar. Casey Smith's in here correcting me to say added sugar. uh, I mean added sugar when I say stop eating sugar.
Yeah, added sugar. I mean, but we all are human, so like I'm not gonna lie. Like I eat ice cream and I'll eat some cookies. My girlfriend loves baking, so
Oh
I'll
my
eat some
goodness.
of her cookies a lot. So I'm definitely not shy about that, but I feel like because I'm taking in the omega threes and eating a lot of greens, like there's a lot of balance, like that's fighting off all that the like the processed sugar.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna buy some of that now and start taking that too. I've got like my whole concoction of vitamins that I take every day now. But I mean, since I like cut way back on added sugar, and and started to stretch a little bit and take these vitamins, I felt so much better. And it's gotten to the point where like everybody calls me crazy, but whenever I eat like cookies or brownies or something like that, it's within minutes that I can start to feel my muscles. It feels like they're tightening up on me, and then my neck just like gets to the point where it's like it feels like my neck's kind of stiff on me.
Yeah, it really does that stuff.
I'm glad I'm not
Um,
crazy because there's a lot of people who are like, that's just in your head. And I'm like, no, I can feel it.
no, the more you like wean off of stuff and like reintroduce it into your body, you find like it. There's a lot of stuff that impacts your body in different ways. And
Yeah.
sugar is like the easiest one to pinpoint because it's real easy to cut out, and then you'll notice immediately once you start eating it again.
Yeah, and that's the big thing too. Why I tell people the whole added sugar thing is because when I mean I cut it completely off, other than like the stuff that's just naturally in the food you buy, like cut off. I used to eat Little Debbie's for breakfast every morning, like
Oh,
it was bad, and I just completely cold turkeyed it, and I lost like 15 or 20 pounds in a month, and
yeah.
and it just made me feel so much better. So that's another aspect to it for the people who are going to see this in the future, that if you eat a lot of that kind of stuff and you stop doing that, you're going to feel better, you're going to lose weight, and you're probably going to ride better at the same time.
100%. Yeah. Just because you won't get that sugar crash as well, like during riding. Like if you just feel like you hit a wall, it's because you just burnt all your glycogen and your sugar storage in your body.
Yeah,
But if all that simple sugar came from cookies and stuff before you're gonna ride, you're gonna feel that immediately.
that makes
Um,
sense. I'm not going to lie though. When I get my Hardee's after riding, I do get cookies with it. Because I'm like, oh, I just rode. It's probably fine.
I mean, it truthfully is. Like if you just did a strenuous activity, you wanna eat simple carbs. So if it's cookies, so be it.
Yeah,
As long as you balance it out with the other stuff, that's the fun part or the tricky part.
yeah. Another thing we've actually talked about, like way, I can't even remember how long ago it was. I asked you about if you ever wore a heart monitor while you were riding,
Oh
and you
yeah.
said that you did. I don't remember too much of it, but I do remember you saying something like about every hour of like pretty decent riding, it was like 2,000 calories.
No, no, like 1200,
1,200?
but
Okay. There we go. Either
but
way.
roughly around there.
So that's
But
still a
yeah,
lot.
that's a lot. Yeah, and then your body will continue to keep burning stuff because riding's like short bursts of
Mm-hmm.
intensity, and the and you're riding for hours doing these short bursts of intense runs. That's gonna keep burning a lot after even after you're done riding.
Gotcha.
Do you want to talk about the heart rate stuff?
We can, yeah. I mean, I saw you post your heart rate monitor just either today or yesterday.
Yeah, actually, Dave Mira, he was the first one that I noticed was using heart rate
Mm-hmm.
monitors for. He was using it for triathlon, but I heard stories of him using it for training on for BMX as well, and that got me really intrigued. And like I started riding with a heart rate monitor just to see what like how high my heart rate gets while I'm riding,
Mm-hmm.
and you could actually train off the bike to reach that heart rate level and train in that heart rate zone, and then that's gonna make you feel way better on the bike if you're doing a lot of heart rate training off the bike.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because and it's a really great tool even on like recovery days, like if you want to just hop on like a indoor cycling bike, um, and just pedal in a low heart rate zone,
Yeah.
that really flushes out all your system and flushes out all the toxins and like the stuff that makes you sore.
That's what so one of the guys who owns Brimstone, the shop that I ride for, he's an ultra marathon runner. Like he does those 100-mile runs and stuff. And he actually told me that like if you have a hard day riding, the next day just go and pedal around the block once because it's important to have that cool down workout that can make you not as sore and make you feel even better.
100%. And it's hard. It's honestly hard because you feel like crap and you're like, oh well, my body's sore, so I might as well just like let my body recover and rest.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's called active recovery. If you just do a light ride, that real like increase the it'll just speed up the whole recovery process.
It totally
But
makes
it seems
sense.
like yeah, but it seems like not happening the day you're actually like super sore and taxed.
Yeah.
But if you do it, you'll find yourself feeling less sore, especially the next day.
Well, that's what I was just getting ready to say is that since I've like been conscious of some of this stuff, I've not really had those like multi sore days where you're like, oh God. Like I
Yeah,
feel totally fine the next day after riding. And most of the time when I ride, I mean, I don't like to go to Rays or wherever I'm going to ride unless I'm there for like 6 or 8 hours.
yeah, you're there forever.
Yeah, every single time because I don't know. I feel like I don't want to ride unless I can ride all day long. And even so, like I'm pushing myself like hard all day and I still don't have those super crazy sore days. Even yesterday I was like I rode pretty dang hard on Saturday and yesterday it was like I was sore, but it was like, oh, this is just muscle soreness. I'm not like dead.
Right. And especially riding rays, anybody that's ridden rays knows no matter what you do, you're going to be sore from riding that place.
Oh yeah.
Just for so many, like everyone that comes from and out of town, they're like, it makes me laugh because they're always like, dude, I don't get how I could only ride this place like once a year for how much it takes out of me.
Yeah.
But that's because it's also so exciting. You have so much new stuff you get to ride if you're not from here or if you
Yeah.
don't ride race regularly.
Yeah, you're right. Somebody asked, what do you use to monitor with your heart rate monitor?
I use this polar heart rate strap. It just goes around your chest. It's just a polar heart rate monitor, and I link it through Bluetooth to my phone, and then I use the Polar app.
Okay.
A lot of people use like the Apple Watches or the fitness watches, but I've read mixed reviews saying they're not like 100% accurate, especially if you're elevating your heart rate to the 170s like I am in like most of my workouts.
Mm-hmm.
I find like the old-fashioned heart rate strap that goes around your body is like the most accurate you can get.
Yeah, I remember we used to use those in elementary school. How gross is that? It's just
Really?
like a tub of those things, and you go and grab one out and put it on. Like, oh, it's gross.
that's that's pretty bad if you think about it.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Um, what about what's your workout schedule like?
So it's I'll do 3 days in the gym and then two days of workouts at home. So like 5 days of workouts every week. Yeah, like four to five in like workouts, and they're usually like an hour long, but like they're pretty intense, like
Mm-hmm.
for that hour. Um, yeah, and then I'll ride like 5 days out of the 7 days of the week when I'm fully like healthy. Like right now, I'm recovering from a ankle injury. I had ankle surgery 4 weeks ago, but now I'm in back to the swing of things where I'm like actually riding like almost 5 days a week again.
That's crazy how fast that came back.
Yeah, I'm very happy. Well, they only had to remove like bone fragments out of my ankle because there was like two little pieces floating around there, and they just
Yeah.
kept jamming up, and they were causing so much pain for months, and I had no idea. They just thought it was tendonitis.
Mm-hmm.
But then after a second MRI, thanks to my girlfriend's uncle, that we just happened to be in Florida, and he's a radiologist. He was like, "We could go get an MRI tomorrow morning if you want." And I was like, "What the hell, really?" And then we got it looked at, and that's when I found the bones in my ankle after months in one MRI before that, like trying to figure out what's causing this pain in my ankle. But since they only had to remove two bone fragments and not repair anything, it was like they said it's an easy recovery.
Yeah.
And I was riding 4 weeks afterwards, so that's pretty quick.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I'm sure you're happy about that.
Super happy. Like I thought for sure at least 6 weeks, but based on how good my ankle is feeling and like really like paying attention to my body, like I just realized like, oh, I could keep pushing it, and like,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been doing a lot of physical therapy, so it wasn't just like me laying around and waiting till it felt good. It was like pushing through a couple painful weeks of physical therapy just to get the movement back into my ankle.
Yeah.
Um, and then now I'm here.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I saw that clip that you posted today of doing the channel gap whip. It's pretty up there. I guess this is a good place since you brought up physical therapy and stuff to bring up stretching and yoga. Do you do? I'm sure you do stretching. Do you yoga at all too, or?
I do yoga once a week. I used to be in more of a routine. Like I used to do it like twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
But I do stretch. I have like a little stretch routine that I do before every session. Like if I touch my bike, I make sure I do my little stretch ritual. Like it takes like 10 minutes, and it's just like something that opens up my hips and my hamstrings, and just stuff that I found that like the most tight areas
Yeah.
from riding. So I loosen those up before, and that's crazy too. Like the days if I don't stretch and go ride, I'm sore. But if I stretch before I ride, I'm not sore.
Interesting.
It's like even like I switched up, like I was trying to do like more of a dynamic stretch, like more of like a functional or like movement rather than just sitting down and stretching.
Mm-hmm.
Even that made me more sore from riding. or didn't help prevent the soreness like the static and slow like stretching does.
Yeah. I've found I've figured out stretching too, where it was like, oh my God, the first time you stretch after never actually really doing it your whole life, it's like life changing for a second.
Yeah.
And then since then, I've started to just like when I get home from raves or wherever I'm riding at, when I'm in the hot shower, I'll turn it up hotter and then
Oh,
literally
dude,
just
yeah.
put the water on this areas that I can feel are tight and then stretch them until they're loose and then I'm just not sore.
That's a huge game changer. Like stretching in the shower, that's like
Oh
the
yeah.
simplest way to do it. That's cool that you mentioned that
I
because
feel like I'm meditating, stretching, and doing yoga all at the same time while I'm
yeah,
taking a shower.
but it helps expand all those tight muscles and really helps.
Yeah, and it feels like it's. I've tried. I mean, I do stretch sometimes out of the shower, and it takes so much longer to
Yeah.
just to get it to the point. Because like when I do it, I don't like to like stop before I'm completely like as far as my body can go, and it doesn't feel tight anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a
I'm kind of
good habit.
extreme about it.
Well, that's good if you want your body to feel good.
Hey,
Um,
gotta keep doing them candy bars, man.
that's your secret, huh?
No, actually, I didn't figure that out until just like within the last 6 months.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean,
I can't even candy bar, and I'm pretty flexible. I don't know how you
I
can
think you
candy
can, you just haven't.
bar.
That's one of those tricks, man. A lot of people are like, "How do you move like that?" And I'm just like, "I don't know. I just do it. Like I don't think about it. I just put my foot there and it works."
Well, is it easier now that you've stretched or have stretching in your?
I find myself actually, I don't know if I've just improved or what, but I feel like it's more consistent.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, so, ooh, there's a good question. What gym workouts do you focus on? I know you got a trainer.
I do. Um, he's actually my physical therapist.
Mm,
So he's helped me. Like I met them when I broke my collarbone, and I just felt safer like working out with a dude that knows everything about my body and like my weak areas.
right.
It's just easier to do everything in the house in one place. So like workouts with the same dude that's rehabbing you is really nice.
I feel like that just makes sense.
Yeah, but the workouts I focus on is pretty much everything. Like it goes in phases. Like say like right now for instance, like there's no competitions like on the schedule right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we could kind of build up my strength base, and like that's more of like lower reps, strength training, like the base. I don't really know, like the basic stuff,
Yeah.
um, like push-ups, squats, or whatever. And then there'll be like, but technically I'm in this phase now. It's like plyometrics, where you're like training for like explosiveness and like power.
Yeah.
Like that's where you're doing like all the hops and just like quick reaction stuff. Um, and then a lot of cardio. Like I do a lot of cardio at home.
Gotcha. I feel like that explosive stuff would really help with BMX because I mean, the nature of a BMX trick is explosiveness.
Yeah, and you're pumping all this force to go up into the air, so you want to work your body out to like help produce that force, especially when riding ramps. But it also helps so much with injury prevention. That's what I find
Oh.
the most. Like all these like hops and like jumping weird plyometric stuff I do. I'll notice like when I'm like after a month of doing like plyo stuff, like my pump, not only is my pump so much stronger, but like my landings are like more, like I absorb the landing better.
Oh, I see.
Like it doesn't hurt if you case, it doesn't hurt if you land flat because your body's like adapted to like taking that force.
Yeah, you pretty much worked out your casing and land flat muscles or abilities.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's pretty
That
cool.
that's something I want to hit on because like I feel like work like the real reason I work out is more like yeah, it has its perks of like energy and like the power for riding, but
Hmm.
it's so big for like injury prevention, like having a strong body so you can take those slams because crashing's inevitable in BMX. Like
Right.
you're gonna
Obviously.
have your you're gonna have your spills sometimes. So just like preparing your body and like building yourself a protection around your body with muscle is just the easiest way to help yourself. And
Which makes total sense.
yeah,
And you got people like Hollywood who have like totally messed up shoulders who just work out so much that like he never needed to have the surgery until like
yeah, exactly.
it was that crazy. I remember him talking a lot about that.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure Rob Darden has no ACLs.
Oh, I think I've heard
Like,
the stories of people like that. I think there might be more than one person like that.
uh, pretty sure there are, and you just that's just from building up your muscles and I mean building up your leg muscles in the proper ways, and you can pump without an ACL apparently because Rob Darden has a really good pump. Um,
Wow. I can't imagine like those feel like pretty important parts of your legs.
yes, having a healthy knee is very important for everything.
Yeah. I did want to ask you about your Instagram story that said most of this is to do more flare down whips. What is this about? Was that a joke or was that serious?
There's some seriousness. It was more just like me to like entertain myself, so I put that up there.
Oh, I see.
But in reality, like no, I work out to like do what I like doing,
Yeah, well, I guess
riding,
what I want to
and
ask
I
is have you noticed connections between specific workouts and certain tricks becoming easier because of them? Obviously the whatever that word was that you were using, the I can't think of it. The
plyometric.
yeah, Paul whatever's. Uh, Obviously you said that helps with pumping and casing and all of that, but what about like specific tricks? You
Yeah,
don't have to get specific. We don't need any secrets spilled here.
well, I've noticed like deadlifts and deadlifts was like a main one where I found out like when I was started doing those more, flips were like way easier.
Interesting. I guess that kind of makes
Like
sense though. When you think about the
100%.
body motion of a flip and the body motion of a deadlift.
Yeah, I was like, wow, like flips are just don't even move a muscle after like doing a lot of deadlifts. And then like there's like I'll do a band like like when you work out your adductors and abductors
Mm-hmm.
in your legs, like doing like side to side with a band. I found that really helped with windshield wipers, and I do a lot of windshield wipers,
Wow,
like kicking
that's
them
kind of cool.
back.
There's gonna be kids posting Instagram stories doing these exercises. I'm gonna be Nick Bruce.
I don't know, but no, there's definitely a lot of exercises that help a lot. Yeah, there's there's so much like there's so much you could do.
It's crazy. I never realized how in depth all of this stuff can get.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
so I also want to ask about if you were like health conscious like this always. I mean, you did say something about how you've always been kind of a nerd about food and stuff, but have you always been like this? Or have you always paid this much attention to this stuff?
not until I became like professional, like
Mm-hmm.
actually like competing professionally. Because we're doing like when I compete, I do a 1 minute run of all your hardest tricks,
Yeah.
and I'm like that's hard. Like no matter what shape you're in, that's hard. Because I mean, you're always going to try your hardest trick, so like you're trying to squeeze in everything you can in 1 minute, so it's always going to be difficult. But like after like a few competitions, I'm like, man, I really need to up my fitness game And then I would just see like Jamie Bestwick, like the dude's
He's
unstoppable, and
serious.
he's he's like, well, how old is he? Like 45
Something.
or above 45, I'm pretty sure, and he's still killing it. And I'm like, if this guy's still winning vert contests, like this was a while back. Of course, he wasn't 45 then, but he was like an older guy in the game, still winning contests. I'm like, what does he do? And he works out to like protect his body, and then he mentioned he did a lot of yoga, which I swear helps the body the most.
Mm-hmm.
We could get into that, but just mainly because I was tired of feeling like crap at a competition. Like I was just like, man, like, and I was tired of like being sore and like tired of like just feeling run down from riding so much,
Yeah.
body wise. Like when other dudes were like able to ride longer and like perform better, I'm like, man, there's got to be something out there that I could incorporate. And then I found like the heart rate training, and then just working out, and it just kept evolving every year. Like I swear for like the early years, or even still now, like all my money goes into my body, like whether
Mm-hmm.
it's nutrition or like finding new tools for recovery stuff, or like um, my personal training stuff. Like it's not cheap. So just like I always reinvest my money like
Yeah.
into my body, and like the I don't know how you feel about basketball, but like LeBron James, he's like the superstar athlete of all. Like he's the most
Yeah.
athletic dude in the world. I swear, and he puts like over $1 million into his body. So it's like
Jeez.
if he's doing that,
Obviously,
like
there's
we
a
got to
reason.
start right exactly. And like obviously don't have $1 million,
Yeah.
but there's ways to add, like find that like valuable information and stuff to like treat your body with. And my whole method has always been like that, just like trying to keep my body as ready and strong as possible to compete, but also just to enjoy my bike every day.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it seems like you figured out a way, or the way, I guess you could say, to make sure that you feel as good as you possibly can, as much as you possibly can on the bike.
I mean, it's my job, so I have to like really like if I can't have that excuse of like showing up at an event and being like, yeah, I just don't feel good today. Like that's not gonna like I can't afford that.
There's no podium for I don't feel well.
Right, exactly.
So that
So
being said, the
train
next thing on my list here is did you have you like noticed a lot of other contest riders who are very health conscious?
it's transformed a lot, especially since the Olympics were announced.
Right.
That's had our sport, and since we had more events popping up pre-COVID times,
Yeah.
you just saw a lot of dudes in the gym. Like before, it was honestly not too many. Like I'm not saying I was the only one, but like I was one of the main ones that, because a lot of people would ask me like, what do I do in the gym? Because they knew I
Hmm.
was like the fitness guy, and like a lot of then now you just see like everyone's at the gym now, but you have to be in order to perform a 1 minute run. Like there's just no way around it
Yeah.
without crashing and burning.
Yeah, especially in the day and age we're in with the way judging works in BMX now, like there is no messing up anymore. And
Yeah,
winning anyways.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
I kind of guessed the answer to that one. I just kind of wanted to hear. Is there anybody who's like, you don't have to name names here, but is there anybody who like doesn't do anything but is still a savage?
it's hard to say.
Yeah, I guess
Um,
I mean you're not living a life for everybody, so you don't know.
no, there are a few guys that will just like I don't know how they like they'll pull it out of nowhere, but but you won't see that consistency. Like you won't,
Right.
like they'll have their, like every event for them is different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's rightfully so. It's for everybody. It's everyone, for everybody. It's different every time pretty much, but sometimes people pull a rabbit out of their hat and like pull it together, but then the next day you'll be like, oh, now it makes sense. Like they won't perform as well,
Mm-hmm.
or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I'm following.
this, yeah, the consistency just catches up on them.
Yeah, I mean,
But the people get away with it every once in a while, but I feel like it catches up. It eventually catches up.
sounds like they get away with it at the contests that aren't multi-day contests.
Exactly, yeah. Like everyone kills it the first day, but then you see like the true athletes on like final day, finals day, where it's like, okay, we just rode for 5 days, like 2 days of practice, 2 days of competing, and we have to compete again today. Like, let's then that really shows who has the endurance.
Right. I wonder if that's part of why you see most of the same people winning and placing at these contests.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
That only makes sense. There's a connection that I never would have made before.
Right.
So you can't like that's a whole nother reason why you can't be like, oh, it's because of everyone has to ride exactly the same whatever. I feel like now it becomes now that I've like been open my eyes have been open to this, now it's no, the people who are like the real athletes who are putting the work in might ride similarly and they do what it takes to be able to compete in the finals, like 5 days of riding in a row.
Right. Because I mean, you'll see so many good riders from all over the world that you never even heard of before, but they don't make it out of qualifying day just because they just haven't trained properly yet or like
Mm-hmm.
figured it out. Um, which is a shame because you always see the final highlights videos. You don't see these other guys that are actually,
Right.
they're truly amazing. Everyone's like, there's so many amazing riders. But it, like I said, the competitions are hard. Like
We
it's,
need like the I don't know if you ever would have heard about it before, but at the drag strip down by West Salem, Dragway 42, every New Year's Day they do the Hangover Nationals. We need that in BMX. We need the contest for the guys who don't train and don't do anything. There's only one day of competition. There's no
oh,
qualifying.
yeah.
You just show up and do the best you can, and the guys who are just savage crazy dudes who you're talking about who might not be conditioned are going to do great. And oh man,
Right.
that'd be funny. I feel like that's where you get
You
like
might be
your
onto something.
yeah, like I feel like that's where you get your swamp fests and your metro
Right.
jams and your roots and all this stuff where it's like it's not necessarily people who are like these elite athletes. It's just the guys who came from wherever and just shred.
Right. Exactly.
Man, one day, Nick, when YouTube blesses me, we'll make it happen. The Hangover Nationals in BMX.
People would be stoked on that.
Oh, you know they're going. Somebody's gonna steal this idea, and I'm gonna let you steal it, and I'm gonna know you stole it whenever you pull out the winning trophy that is a UFC belt, but for BMX.
It could happen.
Hell yeah. So, since we're talking about contests, one of the other things I wanted to ask about, and you kind of already said it, but what's the contest scene looking like for 2021? I mean, we had the triples thing.
They had the triples thing. There's hints and rumors that that might happen again,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be invite only and it's like points based
Yeah.
just because of COVID restrictions. But other than that, there's no like there's nothing on the calendar yet.
Man.
There's like there's possible like there's like a tentative schedule that hasn't been released yet of like feast stops,
Yeah.
but they're all international and like every country outside the states they have travel bans right
No
now and
kidding.
yeah, the countries aren't doing great as far as COVID numbers go, so it just doesn't seem realistic until hopefully the vaccine really like switch like helps
It
turn
does what
things
it's
around.
supposed to do.
Yeah,
Man, that's
but
such a
as of
bummer.
right now, it's yeah. As of right now, we don't really know.
Especially considering that there was like, wasn't it two or three more events for the UCI qualifying for the Olympics?
Yeah, we're meant to have at least two before the final qualification process is over
Which
before
the con
Tokyo,
that's supposed to be in 2021, so that
right?
kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that was last year's story. Like, oh man, everything got canceled and there's no events. And then this year, it's just like, oh man, we're hoping it's not the same, same thing, you know.
Man.
But getting that email of like a tentative schedule, like that was like, okay, I'll be ready by this day, no matter what,
Yeah.
even if it happens or not.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that's good for you because now you can prepare yourself and start to do. I was gonna ask too about if there was anything like you don't have to say what. Obviously, I know that like some things I feel like you don't want to just give it all away, but like, are there things you're doing as contests are approaching to kind of make sure you're more ready for a contest than just next week's riding week?
Good question. It's hard to say just because I'm still like in recovery mode,
Yeah.
so I'm not doing like I know where I want to be, so I'm like definitely working towards that, like to where I want to be training in order to be ready for a contest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like training to be for the training,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Maybe there's a
But there's
better
definitely a
question here.
lot. No, there's definitely a lot to do in like the month before an event.
Yeah.
That's like practicing 1 minute runs wherever you're at, and then me and my trainer are gonna do some cool things that I'm really excited for once my body's like 100%
That's good. That's good to
as
hear.
far as testing goes. Like we're gonna do some just different fitness tests to see where my levels are, and then just try to build that level up. Like it's
Yeah. I don't.
my first time using science in.
Well, you just reminded me of something. I don't know if you're into the Joe Rogan podcast or anything, but you should, if you haven't yet, listen or watch the one with Henry Cejudo and his team or the people from his team because they pretty much break down how they use science to get him to be like the champ that he was before he whatever he did. Um, and it was really
Really?
interesting to hear about because they took a totally scientific approach to it where they're monitoring his recovery kind of like how you eat for your recovery, but they're monitoring his recovery and dynamically changing their training days based on how recovery is and what they're doing based on how recovery is. So if it's like he wakes up and he's got, I mean, I know there's like fitness tracker things that you can wear for your body that can tell you or gauge how recovered you are. It's like they use stuff like that and where he's at in his recovery on that, they'll decide, oh, we were going to do this today. Well, now because you're not quite recovered enough yet, we're going to do this instead.
Mm,
And taking that scientific approach to it to literally just like basically engineer this dude into being in the best shape he could possibly be in.
yeah, that'd be interesting to listen to.
Yeah, it was
Um,
pretty cool. I mean, I didn't listen to it with the same ear that I feel like someone like you will because like I'm not necessarily training for anything to like have to really or want to really pay attention to the specifics of it, but it was an interesting thing to listen to.
hmm, yeah.
Um Other than that, though, something I kind of started the conversation talking about how there's a lot of older guys who are watching on my YouTube channel and this stuff. Knowing what you know about being healthy and exercise and all of the things you do to feel good on your bike, what are a couple things you would say that somebody who doesn't do anything, who just works a job and then rides when they can, could do pretty easily? to like make themselves feel better when they're riding.
Mm. First thing's always, I'm sure everyone's tired of hearing it, but drink more water.
I was literally just thinking that. That's funny. I knew that's where you were gonna
Like,
go.
the first thing anyone could ever do is drink more water. Like, that's the easiest thing. Like, well, the first thing you should do is start tracking your water. Like, you should not be mindlessly like slugging down like a random bottle here and there. You should like have like a big water bottle like you have,
Yeah.
or and like just like monitor like how much water you're drinking. Because once you know you're like, once you get to like where you're consistently drinking close to a gallon of water a day, for me and like for a lot of friends, like we all notice like, wow, we feel so much better when we're actually closer to that gallon of water, like
Mm-hmm.
just for everything. And then I swear this, like creating like a little stretch routine before putting my pads on before every session has been like the most game changing thing for my riding
Yeah.
as far as consistency goes as well. Because I think it was from a Dave Mira podcast, like Fat Tony's old podcast, the Expansion Project.
Yep, I remember that one.
He Dave said he put his pads on every single day the same exact way,
Yeah.
and that made me think. Like that's what actually inspired me to like create like a little stretch routine and like pad up routine, because he
Mm-hmm.
said like if he puts his pads on the same every day, it's gonna, if I do this one thing the same every day, it's gonna trickle into my riding, and I'm gonna probably perform or ride consistently as well. So just figuring out like any stretch like some sort of stretch program that you're like pumped on, and something that's not gonna, like just some sort of consistency, like so like it's something you do every time before you ride, like a ritual. That way your body, like there's something in your body that clicks, like okay, it's time to ride.
I
And
see.
like when you turn that on by your little ritual, you're gonna ride more consistently. Like you're not gonna have that random off day as much, and you're not gonna all of a sudden hurt yourself first trick of the day. Like you're not, that stuff kind of disappears, because there's been
Yeah.
many times where you're super excited for the session, and then you just off yourself like the first time you jump something or hurt yourself.
Yep.
I find like having that ritual really like prevents all that. Like like I swear that's been the most helpful thing.
So what you're saying is I probably shouldn't put my pads on before I make my hour drive to Ray's in the car and then just go straight to riding.
Maybe that's your ritual though.
I guess so. What about easy things when it comes to food?
Food. I feel like since like the supplements really would really help. Like
Yeah.
finding an omega-3 supplement, because that's so huge. Like we don't like. I feel a huge difference if I don't take my omega-3s, and like based on like our diets these days, like no matter what, we're having so much omega-6s in our diets. We need
Gotcha.
something to balance it out with, and omega-3s will balance it out and help fight all that inflammation, and it'll make you feel a lot better. So I would say an omega-3 supplement, and that looks like fish oil or algae pills. Or I used to eat a lot of salmon before I went vegan, but um, salmon's a big proponent of omega-3s, and hemp seeds, chia seeds.
Would you say that that's more important or just as important or in addition to taking something like just like a normal multivitamin too?
You definitely want to take it in addition to a multivitamin.
So kind of both.
Some, yeah, both for sure. Like multivitamins kind of just cover your bases,
Yeah.
but they don't generally have an omega-3 added in them.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
seeing that in this one.
Uh,
That's an interesting
but
one.
that's if you could take any supplement for the rest of your life, I would always choose an omega-3 first. Um,
Good to know. Someone said krill oil has been amazing for me.
yeah, that's another omega-3 supplement. That's krill oil is actually better than fish oil.
Okay. I'm kind of
I
just looking at the
personally
things I have
say
here.
algae pill.
What's that?
I claim the algae pill is the best one because
Okay. Well, okay, and
it's actually cheaper too.
a good question here then, because we're talking to just everybody who might be able to benefit from this. Is this something that it like really matters where you get it? Like, do you not want to go to Walmart and buy what they have, or Amazon order what they have?
You have to be very, very aware of where you're getting it from.
Okay.
Um, just mainly because there's a lot of extra chemicals in like the cheaper brands,
Gotcha.
like a lot of pesticides, a lot of just added stuff to preserve it, and like ingesting or like taking all that in all the time. Like for an example, a lot of these like a lot of supplements will have titanium dioxide added to them,
Okay.
and that's in our deodorant. So you're eating that, like,
Oh,
and you're like that's metal you're like taking into your body. So you want to really make sure you're like looking for like a whole food supplement. That's what they're like considered. Um,
I see.
yeah.
I'm really just intrigued because I'm reading like you're saying all this and I'm like, do I got the bad one?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
It's
it'll
okay.
throw you into a paranoia.
I'm not, yeah, just like want to be smart about it too because I just, go to Walmart and buy like whatever one seems like it could be the best.
There's I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's like a website that gives you like the bad ingredients. So like
Oh,
if I'm
okay.
reading I so like I'm good at it now. Like I could just look at a label and know exactly like okay, like this is a red flag, and then I'll just look away or I'll look at something else.
Right.
Uh, but I can't think of.
I'm sure there's a lot of them too.
There are. I'm sure, but I'm sure Walmart has the good stuff as well by now. Honestly, you just don't. You just want to look for something that's close to Whole Foods as possible, like a whole food supplement, like
Right.
closest to its normal or original form
Which
without all
makes
the added crap.
makes total sense. Um, One thing I will give that I have been doing for a while now is I've been taking these before I ride.
Oh, mushrooms,
Cordyceps.
cordyceps. Yeah, there's a
This,
lot of.
what's that?
Were you telling me about that, or was
Yes,
that
I told you
might have been
about it
fun?
because I started taking them after I heard about it, and of course the Joe Rogan podcast. My whole concoction over here is like the Joe Rogan podcast concoction. It's like everything
That's
that
a
they
good.
talk about. But I figure if this dude who's got $100 million from one deal and spends all of his money on making his body better is talking about this stuff publicly, he's probably done the research and talked to the people who know what they're talking about.
Exactly, that's a good source.
But there was the podcast with like the guy Paul Stamets, the mushroom guy is what they calls him or whatever. This is his company, Host Defense, and they talked about these cordyceps and they talked about something to do with the Olympics and how like obviously they're very strict on what you can and can't do. And one of the teams like figured out cordyceps supplements or something like that, and it's totally legal or whatever, but like they performed way better from it. And the way that they described it was like pre-workout without the jitters and without like the
Yeah.
caffeine and stuff. And I have noticed a huge difference in like the longevity of the sessions whenever I take that versus when I don't. It's like when I'm on my way home, even, I'm not tired yet. Like I feel like I could keep riding.
Yeah, I've had mushroom coffee, and I definitely remember like the longer buzz, like like longer, not buzz, but like a long sustainable energy that didn't feel like I was gonna crash or like need more or whatever.
Yeah. Um,
It's interesting.
is there anything else we talked about? Kind of paying attention. I guess we didn't really talk too much about food. We talked about the omega threes. We talked about the stretching routine. Um, is there anything else for somebody who wants to feel better they could do easily?
Well, we did start on the mental game. I find that could affect everybody's day or session, especially like if you're having a rough day and then you bring that to your session. We've all been there when we ride anger. Sometimes you have a good session when you're angry because you have all that extra energy.
Yeah,
But like if you're pissed off and like trying to ride, like it's not a fun time. Like for me personally, and then no one really wants to ride with you if you're pissed off. Like
true.
it's not fun to be around. So I found like for me, and there's a lot of research saying meditation is like really good for this. And it's just like really like learning to separate yourself from those emotions, so you're not dragging them on with you all day long.
Yeah, that feels like really solid advice there, and the meditation side of things can help with more than just your whole or just riding. It can help your whole life.
Right. I use the Headspace app. It's like a simple app, and it's just 10 minutes a day, like in the morning, and then after like a few days of it, you really feel like, wow, like I could actually observe my thoughts and my emotions more clearly without like getting frustrated or like caught off guard by stuff so quickly.
Yeah.
Like not reacting to stuff. Like you're less reactive. Like I noticed that a lot because I used to meditate a lot, then I stopped, and then I meditated a lot, then I stopped. Just I would always like ebb and flow with it, just to like really like, okay, does this even do anything? But it truly does. Like it's been like a lifesaver for me, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, and that's something that anyone can do very easily.
right? You don't even need an app. You don't even. But for this day and age, it's I find it the simplest way and like the easiest way to like do it.
And
I
like
like guided meditation.
if you don't know what you're doing when you start, that's a great way to learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, really, really good thing brought up here. Ask about CBD use.
Oh,
I didn't even think about that one. I don't know anything, so like this is totally. I've never tried it. Never. Yeah.
it's very helpful. Right now, it's a gray area for me because so I get tested for Olympics, like drug tested
Yeah.
and doping. They mainly look for like performance enhancement stuff,
Yeah.
but for 2021 they banned THC when before it wasn't prohibited, but now this year it is. So I can't. I haven't been like taking the like tinctures, the oil drops underneath the tongue like I
Oh,
used to.
okay.
Because I used to take that every day before bed, and I would wake up less achy, and I would actually sleep really well. But I haven't. I'm trying to get a. There's called a TUE. It's like a therapeutic usage exemption form that you could get.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get that so I could get back on the my old CBD regimen. But I still use the topical stuff like the muscle rubs and the yeah muscle rubs. Basically, that's about it. Then lotions or the roll-on gels
Yeah.
because it's a very low like like from all my research and like a lot of other people's research, it's very unlikely that any CBD or THC will enter your bloodstream from rubbing it on topically.
Yeah.
But there's still always a chance, I guess. But I feel comfortable enough to use it on my skin, knowing that. So I still use that for, especially for my ankle right now. I've been using it every day.
Hmm.
I'll just massage it in and just really, it really helps my ankle. It's like icing it, but it's like ice on my ankle for the whole day. It's kind of like
Oh.
icy hot, but just like a little bit better
Oh,
because there's
okay.
more. Yeah, there's just more to it.
You're
Um,
educating me right now.
I wish I was more well versed in the CBD world, even though I should be.
That's
At least
okay.
that's why. Um, but it really helps. It really does. But I noticed the most it helped me with sleeping and waking up less achy. It'd be like taking a healthy ibuprofen every day. There's
Oh,
no
that's a
side of there's no side effects. You're not gonna the the worst you'll feel is like an overwhelming calmness. Is really like that's the only real side effect of CBD.
an overwhelming calmness.
Yeah,
Like how could you put a bad spin on that, you know?
yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of
Uh,
people might need overwhelming calmness.
I agree. And it's legal right now, so
Yeah, well, that's the one thing.
uh,
Like, the one thing I feel like I've heard about that is like, isn't there stuff, CBD stuff that exists with just no THC in it whatsoever, so that like you don't have to worry about that?
yeah, there's full hemp derived CBD, which is like it barely has anything or barely any chance of having THC in it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of research saying like if it's a CBD brand that has no THC, then it's kind of like snake oil. Like
Oh, I see.
it's not as effective. Like it is effective, but you're not getting all the benefits if there's if it's a fully, I don't know the word, if it's derived from the original like a non-hemp plant.
Yeah, I
Like
get
a
what you mean. But you're not like getting high from it either if it has that in it, right?
no, right.
Well then, man, all those regulations are so weird.
So weird. Yeah, but
They,
they're doing a lot to get it regulated and worked out because it's such a hot thing right now, and they're
yeah,
finding a lot of benefits to it.
right. I guess so. I feel like the one thing we really didn't talk about yet is what you do for like recovery. Other than obviously we talked about the food side of it, but like what about the other parts of it?
So that's usually my yoga day. If I'm like having or if it's my recovery day, like I'll do yoga. So it's just like a deep stretch to really open up my body again.
Mm-hmm.
Like after a week of like riding, your body's kind of like stuck in the riding position
Yeah.
in theory. So like doing stretches that are the opposite of the riding position help a lot. Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense.
And then I have these recovery boots. They're like big compression boots
I've
that
seen
squeeze the
those in your
crap out of my legs.
stories, but I wondered what that was.
Yeah, basically just squeezes and like forces a lot of blood flow through your legs, and that just increases recovery.
Hmm.
In theory, it really does. It makes your legs feel like brand new after you wear them.
Really?
Uh,
How long do you gotta wear it
yeah,
for?
I just sit in them for an hour. Like I'll just wear them when I'm watching TV or eating dinner.
Huh.
I'll just
Is this
chill.
something that's affordable?
They're kind of pricey.
I mean, I'm sure it's a medical piece of equipment, it sounds like.
Like the first pair, like this was like my reward. Like I was like, all right, if I make podium, I'm gonna buy me a pair of these.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna buy like the expensive pair, but then I found like I was like before I buy the $1,200 ones or whatever they are, I'll just look to see if there's other ones. And then there was another pair for like $800, like a
Mm-hmm.
cheaper company, which my girlfriend swears the cheaper one, because I have two pairs. I have like the higher end ones, and then I have the cheaper one.
Yeah.
Um, the cheaper ones squeeze your legs more, according to my girlfriend. But I feel like they both do the same. But they're around $800
I gotcha.
for the
Which is, I
short.
mean, for someone like you, that's like a investment, not just buying it, for whatever.
Right. I mean, I've traveled. I bring them everywhere I travel. Like they've been to China like 4 different times with me. Like
Yeah.
they go everywhere. So it's not like a one and done thing. Like no, I live in those things.
Right.
Um,
Do you believe in the is it the Hans device or whatever that is? You put it on your muscles and it like twitches things.
I have one of those. Um, I forgot I had one of those. I bought one like 2 years ago. Then I used it for a while. Like it definitely helps because I definitely used it on my ankle recently, and it helped. Um,
What did it help?
I was like, wow, just helps activate and stimulate like the muscles around the joint or whatever area you're trying to treat, and it will just fire different those little muscles that don't get attention or that are hard to reach, and that induces a lot of blood flow and if you, anytime you have more blood flow, that's going to help the healing process.
I see.
So those little, they're silly. They look silly and they make your muscles twitch and they look
Yeah, that's
silly.
all I've ever seen. I feel like that's a less
It
expensive option too.
really is, yeah. Um, that's always something to look into. It's definitely a cool tool to have.
Yeah. Anything else as far aside from food and water?
Like essentials,
No, recovery wise.
recovery wise.
That you
So boots and stretching. I feel like, but there's always a million. Epsom salt baths. Have you ever done an Epsom?
I mean,
Take a hot,
once maybe.
dude. Like if you have like a sprained ankle or if like my hip, like I fall on my hip a lot,
Yeah.
and it'll blow up because there's like a bursa sac in there.
Yeah.
One time my hip was like a balloon, like not even exaggerating, and I took an Epsom salt bath, and all the swelling went down like the next day just from the Epsom salt bath.
Wow, really? I did
Like
not.
it was like immediately. So it's like
Huh.
it's better than ice baths, and it's not as painful because you could actually just relax in a warm tub with this Epsom salt that you add to it, and you can find that at any store. Epsom
Literally,
salt,
that's everywhere. And it's cheap.
super cheap.
Wow,
Um,
I didn't realize it was that like crazy. Like John, the guy who owns the trails out here, he talks about how he always takes Epsom salt baths. I'm like,
dude,
okay,
it's it's a game changer, really.
it's the real deal, I guess.
Yes. And your body's so depleted from magnesium and everything. That's another supplement to take, magnesium. But if you take it through Epsom salt baths, your body absorbs the magnesium and the salts
Hmm.
quicker, and like that'll restore everything in your muscles.
Okay,
That's why you feel a lot better with Epsom salt bath.
gotcha. Man, there was something else I was gonna add to this recovery thing, but I can't remember anymore. We've talked about a lot of it. You talked about eating for recovery, talked about stretching, cool down like riding, easing it like a little bit. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Cool down ride is the way I describe it.
Yeah, active recovery ride.
Yeah, there you go. We've talked about a lot of those things. There's one other one I can't remember. Must not have been that important. But I feel like we've covered a lot here. Is there anything you feel like we missed as far as like the overall? Obviously, there's always going to be more.
There's always going to be more. There's one thing I want to add, just
Okay.
because I know there's a lot of BMX riders out there with low back pain. If you want two exercises to help your lower back, look up an exercise called dead bugs and bird dogs.
Okay.
You do like 3 sets of 10 of each of those, and you'll have a new lower back. I promise you.
What was it again?
Dead bugs,
Dead buds?
bugs, like a
Bugs.
bug.
Okay. Dead bugs and bird dogs.
Yes, two
Dead
funny
bug,
names.
dead bugs and
Hopefully
bird
they're easy to.
dogs.
Hopefully that makes it easy to remember.
Those are country terms out here where I live at.
But I have a herniated disc in my lower back,
Okay.
and I think beginning of 2019 it was so debilitating I couldn't ride for like a few weeks.
Wow.
But I did these dead bugs and bird dogs and a bunch of other core exercises, but those two were like the main, like, wow, I have a new back. Like my pain went away. It was insane.
Yeah, anytime I've ever had lower back pain, I just do crunches for a couple days and then it goes away for like a year. And then it'll come back and
Yeah,
like, oh,
exactly.
there's some more crunches I'm gonna do, and then it just goes away for another year.
Yes. But bird dogs and dead bugs.
Got it. Well, man, I feel like we have done so much here, and anyone who watches this will be able to benefit from it in some way. I mean, there's something in here for everyone, I feel like. And
I agree.
I feel like that was your last thing you wanted to get onto here. So, unless there was anything else, I feel like pretty good. We're pretty well set for this one.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any other questions,
I kind of
I feel
wanted
like
to
we
keep
covered a
it
lot.
healthful or health related, just so that it's not like another hour of random conversation at the end of it, because we can always chat again.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. I mean, water was a big one that you talked about. That was I don't
It's so
think.
simple,
Yeah.
but invest in a water bottle or a water jug that you carry everywhere.
Yep. I can't. I'm like looking around trying to see something that might trigger my. Oh, duh. Okay. Here's the real last one. Padding, prevention of these things. What do you wear knee pads, ankle brace? Like, what do you wear?
I wear ankle brace, shin pads, knee pads, and hip pads.
There you go.
Mainly because my hip explodes if I
Yeah,
fall on it.
you don't want to burst the sack thing all the time. That sucks.
No. Yeah, one flare slide out, then it blows up.
Ugh. Yeah, I wear ankle braces, shin guards, and knee pads every time I ride, no matter what. And I'm sure you can attest. It's saved sessions and weeks of riding countless times. The ankle braces alone have like prevented broken ankles and crazy injuries that would have otherwise happened. And you just get up and you're like fine.
100%, yeah.
That's huge. Whenever people talk about those things, like I don't wear pads, it's like, well, I mean, I want to ride when I'm 50, so I'm gonna wear pads.
Right. Yeah, Nick Digital Aroma, because we used to ride shows padless,
Yeah.
and one day he was warming up. It wasn't the same show. We weren't there together, but he slipped a pedal and he had to get like 13 staples in his shin just
Jeez.
from a just from a slip pedal, just for fooling around with no pads. And ever since then, I was like, you know what? I'm not messing around. I'm
Dude,
gonna
I
wear
got
my
one of
pads.
those stories. Nick Yanetta showed up at Worcester Park one day, and I forget if I was just driving by or something, but I started to ride and I didn't put my pads on or anything, and I got this cut on my shin that's literally like 4 inches long, and it was like a quarter inch wide. The the whole thing didn't go to the hospital or anything. I just bought some crazy butterfly things and shaved it and did what you do
Uh,
with it, and it was all fine. But it was like the one time I didn't ride with pads.
oh,
That's
dude,
what
yeah,
happens.
yeah, it always happens like that.
Or rolled ankles. Every time you ride without your ankle braces, you're gonna roll your ankle.
Right.
Yep. So I feel like that's probably a really good place to end. Is just we've talked about the things to prepare yourself for riding, the things to make sure you're gonna, I guess it's preparing yourself, but to make sure your body's ready for riding, mentally you're ready for riding, preventing yourself from injuring your, man, I'm getting bad. Prevent yourself from being injured, and then also the recovery side of things. And then it's all one big loop of just trying to be the best you can on your bike and feel good.
Right.
So that being said, I think we can sign off here. Hopefully this can help some people. Nick Bruce is on the internet. He's got a website, everyone. It's in his Instagram bio. I didn't know he had a website, but he's got a website. I didn't look at it yet, but it's there.
My girlfriend made it.
That's awesome. So check him out on Instagram. I'm going to put the tag on the screen because I have that ability. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to just pop that right there on your face. There you go. All right, signing out of here. Thanks for doing this, Nick, and we'll have to do another one where we talk about bikes.
Yeah, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity to talk to people or just talk about health, and
Yeah, man.
hopefully it could inspire people.
Yeah, I just hope that somebody out there, some 50-year-old dude, does some dead bugs and bird dogs and
Dude, I know.
can ride better or just ride in general because of it.
That's that's really what I wanted out of this.
There we go. And if that is you, let us know on the internet because it's always cool to hear about those things.
Right.
All right, everybody.